some of the stuff I have is pretty basic. But anyway, I'll talk up through my own pleasure and honor for me to be here with my NASA colleagues, Soviet cosmonauts, Nobel laureates. It's a pretty tough group here to talk to, so and their companions. Now, before I get started, I'd like to introduce my wife, Valerie, and Dottie Duke, who will the Soviet Union, or now Russia, really got sufficient recognition for. Sure, it surprised everybody. And sure, it certainly was a big motivation for our own program. But this little scientific instrument, for Mercury, but I know we had it for Gemini, but in Apollo, both the lunar simulator and the command module simulator were amazingly authentic, and we spent weeks there. In fact, they throw all kinds of problems at us. So
they went up into Earth orbit with the lunar module, detached, did various things to rendezvous, found out that everything so far was very good. All the ideas that we had about the two vehicles working together coincided correctly. And then we had, after that, Apollo 10. 10 was the dress rehearsal. To go all
Apollo 5, Apollo Saturn 5. So it was a very risky program and a very risky mission. But they pulled it off, and we were on our way. Apollo 12, Apollo 10, Apollo 9, Apollo 10, Apollo 11 were all successful. Apollo 12, we had a serious problem at liftoff. It got struck by lightning, and they lost all their electrical power for a fuel cell dropped off the line. But the Saturn vehicle was so sturdy, it just kept flying and flew them right up into orbit. And they finally got their spacecraft recovered, and they went on to the moon for a successful landing, as Jim related. Or you got down this way, you got on your hands and knees, and you backed out, rear end first, onto the porch, which was here, and then you climb down the ladder onto the descent to the footpad. From the footpad to the door, to give you some idea, is about almost 5 meters. We landed down at a place called, as I said, the Descartes Highlands. It was a big valley called the Cayley Plain. Our footprints in the lunar dust. It's very, very fine, like powder, talc, but it had very good bearing strength. And as you stepped on it, you never sank in more than a couple of centimeters. Here's again Stone Mountain with the front of the rover, the TV camera, the ladder down here. Behind me is a far UV camera that the U.S. Naval Observatory had given us to deploy, and that was John's job.
Into your seat belts. I was wondering about that, and I found some old Apollo 17 telemetry data during
the end of the sea.
Translunar ejection.
well, the good news
It's
is
the same thing. You're in orbit, the front end of the vehicle is pointed in your direction, and when you...
translunar injection is going
Oh, I see what you mean. Translunar injection. What you're doing, you're going too fast. Here's the moon. You're going too fast to stay in orbit, so you turn the spaceship around, and you point the front of the spacecraft towards your away from the velocity vector, fire the engine, and it slows you down. So when you fire the engine, it's still pushing you back in your seat. Okay?
Question?
well, Constellation is suffering budget problems, so likely it won't happen anyway.
But empathy and compassion, not greed, but generosity, not conflict, but cooperation, not war, but peace, the spirit in which we see these astronauts go. Peace in which all men, all women, all creatures can share the glorious gifts of nature, the glorious gift of life. For now, in a sense, I feel we are all participants in a new Copenhagen. Thank you very much.
for questions, yes. A few questions.
Like seeing the face of God or something like that. However, what I'm going to talk about is how we've learned a lot about the way the universe is, and we've learned it from light. That is, the light that comes to us from the beginning of time, from a little later in time, and from more close to us, are telling us a lot about investigation. We've happened upon the universe, and we're trying to figure out what happened. So it's like coming to the crime scene and investigating to figure out what's going on. So there's a hidden fingerprint in there that if you can, undo it, you would be able to understand exactly what happened. You all know from watching the TV show that just by analyzing a few things and doing some computer simulations, they can recreate the entire crime and figure out who did what. Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Well, this is the sound of the stomach.